walk-ons are in the transfer portal. The walk-ons are in the transfer portal. Yeah. Joe Griffin and Wyatt, whatever, Vitale. Yeah. Huh? If you want to be, it could be you. Oh. Well, do we not have an extra? Just
It's whoever they bring.
yeah.
Don't know for sure.
It's not necessarily 5 starters then.
Probably, but maybe not.
We can go find somebody to do the other mic. Who? Well, that one guy doesn't answer. Huh? Yeah, go get Louis. Well, Louis, I think Louis with Brian though. Just Clark. Okay.
It's like last night. Yep. Good, I still got my separation.
Yeah, you got your separation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just a heads up, in about 4 minutes, the Virginia Cavaliers will join us in the interview room. And from 2:50 to 3:10, the student athletes will be here. It'll be Jerome, Hunter, Guy, and Clark, along with Coach Bennett. At 3:10, they'll be released, and they'll head to the breakout rooms. And Coach Bennett will stay until 3:30. Just the reminders here in the interview room, no flash photography, no video. Check your cell phones, make sure they're on silent. And then in today's session, we will go directly to questions from the floor once they get up here for the student athletes first. And then we'll go to Coach. Cavs are on their way in. And just a reminder, you know, the microphones are on both sides. Just raise your hand and let us know, and we'll get one to you as quick as we can. And when you ask a question to one of the student athletes, please try to be specific to one or two of those guys, if possible. Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. All right, the guys are getting settled here, so let's go ahead and open up the floor. We've got first one here on the left side in the second row. Where's the microphone? Yeah. And then we'll go right along the right center aisle here.
Norm Wood from the Daily Press in Newport News, Virginia. Ty, if I'm not mistaken, you and Ryan Klein grew up about 10, 15, or you grew up 10, 15 minutes away from each other, sorry. Do you have much connection with him? How close are you guys, and what's the connection there, if so?
Yeah,
Sorry about the confusion.
No, that's fine. He went to Carmel, went to Lawrence Central, which is about 20 minutes away. We played on the same AU team, Indiana Elite, in high school. So got a lot of memories from that. We won the Adidas tournament, so I know him pretty well, and we keep in contact, keep in touch, and you know, he came over and hugged me before the game and said, "Go get a win." So it's, you know, a little bit exciting that we get to play.
Ty and DeAndre, can you just talk about your experience working with Mike Curtis? What's he like as a strength coach? What impact has he had on you? And then as a follow-up to that, he says he would fit well in Coach Bennett's system as a player. Do you think he would fit well in Coach Bennett's system as a player?
No. I mean, we have a different kind of relationship than the rest of the coaches. He's more laid back. You can talk to him about anything. He's more than just a strength coach to me. He talks to me about basketball a lot. And during my redshirt year, he helped me a lot. And he's just a great guy overall.
Yeah, to add on to what he said, he's a great guy, minus the weight room stuff. And to be honest, he's part of the reason I came here, a big reason I came here. When I sat down with him on my visit, he was so detail-oriented. His resume speaks for itself, and he gets everyone so much stronger as long as you put the work in. And he's definitely changed my body since the day I stepped on campus, or grounds. Sorry.
Okay, now we have a question here on the right side, second row, and then we'll go ahead and start in the back, and then we'll come up to the second row. Thank you.
Yeah, Gene Wong, Washington Post. Kihei, I imagine you'll be tasked with guarding Carson Edwards a little bit tomorrow. Kind of your thoughts on that matchup and the challenges that he presents?
He's a great shooter, and he comes off a lot of off-ball screens, so I'm going to have to stay on his hip pocket and make sure I get a hand up and contest.
Okay.
Yeah, for Kyle, just to follow up on you and Ryan Klein, how much did you guys discuss where you might end up in college when you were teammates, AAU teammates? And did you ever have to guard him in a high school game? You probably will be facing each other, you know, at times tomorrow.
Yeah, we played a lot in high school. Probably we played in the same conference, so we played each other twice a year. And when we were both being recruited by, you know, Purdue and IU and all those Indiana schools, obviously we talked about it. And Grant Weatherford was on that team too, who went to Purdue for a year. So, you know, they were recruiting me hard. They just didn't do as good a job as Coach Bennett. So, yeah, actually, he's gonna be mad I said this, but I made him fall. I crossed him over pretty bad when we played him in high school. So, I remember that vividly.
For Kyle and Ty both, past players in this program have talked about how much it would mean to get UVA to a Final Four. They also talked about, as you went on in the tournament, it's sort of hard to block out the noise of that, the pressure of that. How do you think you guys are handling kind of being on the brink of what could be such a breakthrough moment for the program?
I think it's as much as you have to block it out because as soon as that ball's tipped, nothing else matters. But I'm embracing it. I think everyone's embracing it. Just being on this stage is an amazing opportunity, and we're thankful to be here. I think you have to embrace it and let it fuel you.
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job of just taking it a moment at a time, trying to have fun with it and enjoy and cherish every moment. And then obviously when the ball's tipped, like you said, it's, all business. And, anything that comes in your mind about the future's got to go right out because we take it one possession at a time.
Start here on the left side, front row, and then over to the right corner.
Gary Graves, Associated Press. For Ty and DeAndre, beyond Carson Edwards, what is the biggest challenge of really trying to stop Purdue's offense? Well, what other kind of strengths do they pose?
They have a lot of offense. They have a lot of movement in their offense. They have a lot of guys who can come off screens and shoot. They have size, and they play defense as well. So, it's going to be a tough battle, but we're going to be ready.
To add to that, I think they're more complete than they get credit for. They offensive rebound really hard as well. Their bigs do a great job of playing their roles. Their point guard or Eastern, he's physical, about 6'5", so they possess. They can give you matchup problems in that sense. They're just really complete, and then like you said, they have two guys who can really fill it up.
Okay, right corner.
To all the players, we were here early this morning talking to you guys. It was 13 hours, 14 hours ago. How long does it take to come down from a game like that? What time do you guys get to sleep last night? And it's another late game tomorrow. So what is the process of waiting all day long? Like, do you change up your routine from, say, a 7 o'clock game or afternoon game?
I went to sleep around 3 o'clock. But now everything's pretty much the same. A couple things get pushed back, but yeah, just coming out and being ready to play at whatever time.
Anybody else want to add to that? You don't have to. It's good. We're good. Next question. Front row, right side here. Come back to the left.
Could you talk about Mamadi's presence on the team and what he brings maybe on or off the court?
He's been so huge for us in this tournament. Just being locked in defensively. I tell him all the time, when he's locked in on the defensive side of the ball, he brings so much to this team, whether he scores or not. And then the added offense he's been giving us in this tournament has been huge for us, and we've needed every bit of it. And off the court, he's just an awesome teammate. He doesn't care about scoring. He doesn't care who gets the credit. He just really embodies what this program's about.
You got one front row, left side here.
For Kyle, you look back on last night's game, did you expect that kind of grinded out defensive battle? And I guess nationwide, well, I'll say in the ACC, a lot of people might be used to that style, seeing that style of defensive play from you. But, for those that haven't seen you, how do you, I guess, is that just kind of typical for how you all want to play in this tournament?
I think we'll take a win no matter how it happens. I think we knew it was going to be a battle, and both teams took pride in their defense, which obviously was on full display last night. So they played hard, and they had a good scheme for the game, and they were long and athletic, which bothered us in some ways, but we were fantastic on the defensive end as well. So again, like I said, I think if we're scoring 80 points, 50 points, doesn't matter as long as we win.
More questions? Okay, right side, front row. You good?
Yeah, this is for Kyle. What is the Purdue fan base like, and how much is the fact that you played at Notre Dame and Louisville help you when you come into this setting, maybe a hostile setting?
I think everybody knows that, you know, any school from Indiana is going to have a good fan base, and they're crazy around West Lafayette. So, you know, I don't know exactly how far it is, but I know it's a lot closer than Virginia is. So, you know, we're expecting them to have more fans and them to come out with a lot of energy. So we're just going to try to match that.
Anything else? Not, we'll let these guys get out. Guys, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Good luck tomorrow. Start with questions for Coach right here along the right aisle here. We'll go 1, 2, 3.
Tony, the same thing I asked the guys, but if you could speak to how
5
you-
in the morning. Was that you? No.
That's good too.
All right.
How do you think Mike Curtis would have fared as
Yeah.
a player for you?
No.
And a little more on some
Yeah.
of what the guys said about him.
Mike he is terrific. I'll tell you a quick story about Mike. When I was the head coach at Washington State, my father had retired from Washington State, and Coach Beeline asked him to come and speak at the Michigan Coaches Clinic, and Mike was the strength coach. And my dad just happened to, it was before he went on to give the clinic, and Mike was presenting to all the Michigan State high school coaches. My dad came back and he said, son, I don't usually watch those. I don't even get into that. He said, but I was enthralled. He said, that is one of the best presentations, and a guy who gets it about the game of basketball. He said, do everything in your power to send out, your strength coach, Dave Lang, who passed away. Is a wonderful man when he was at Washington State. But he said, send him out, learn from this guy. He's one of the best. So ironically, when I got the job at Virginia, I didn't really think about it. And then I said, all right, we got to hire a strength coach. I'm like, the guy that my father mentioned, didn't know he was a UVA alum, didn't know he played with Jason Williford, didn't know his grandparents lived in Charlottesville. So that's kind of how it happened. He's unique. I had played in the NBA. I've been around some of the best strength coaches. He has 6 years of experience in that. He gets offered jobs all the time. He has a unique way, a different kind of system that's as cutting edge as I've seen. So he's, there's so many great coaches in college basketball, and I can't say, oh, we got the best coaching staff. I would never say that. We have one of the best, if not the best, strength and conditioning coach. He's that good. As far as his game, I never saw it. He's tough, so I think he could have worked out, and he's very serious. But I need to see some film before I can really comment on that. So you have to ask Coach Williford. He played with him.
We'll go to the back row here on the right, and then we'll go to the two in the middle.
Yeah, Tony, what would be your message to Kihei in terms of guarding Carson Edwards tomorrow? What does he have to do to kind of slow him down a little bit?
Yeah, he's well. They have Klein and Edwards. They're terrific shooters, among other players. Kihei or whoever's on him. When you play players that are that special, that can shoot from unlimited range, you do your best as a team to make it hard for him, and then individually to make him hit tough contested shots. That's always the goal of the defense, and he can get loose, and he can shoot off the bounce, off the ball screen. So he's in all levels can score, and he's explosive and strong, and just you got to be so locked in, so alert because their offense is so good. It's not just, ISO ball for him. It's a whole lot of everything. So it's being continuous and making him work and trying to accept the challenge as a team. But it's not just Carson. It's the other stuff. Matt does a great job of layering their offenses and a quick turnaround. You better play your principles well because you can't know everything they're going to do.
Tony, Matt Norlander, CBS Sports. In light of how well they shot, Kyle Guy, career 43% three-point shooter. In this tournament alone, he's at about 12%. And in fact, in NCAA tournament play over the course of his career, he's been aberrationally bad. So talk about sticking to your principles. Like, how key will he be to have the kind of game that he normally has, given the opponent, and what Purdue's going to want to do, how often it shoots the three? Like, are you expecting him to not only have a big game, but him playing well from distance being key to you guys getting onto the Final Four?
Yeah, I think Kyle. The one thing I'm really proud about with Kyle is there's maybe you got to give Kyle freedom because he's a moment away from getting it rolling, but he has stepped up his game defensively. He's competing at a high level. He's so keyed upon, but he's passing. He's making some plays. The rest of his game has been strong, and it's always noticeable for a shooter of his reputation when it's not going. And of course, that's helpful for us in a major way. But he has, as long as he's taking good shots and you give him that freedom for the most part to do what he does. He took a shot yesterday and he said, my fault, coach. It was a quick one in transition. He understands that. He was talking to Momedy when there was that little exchange. So that's what a good player does. Their value is it's not just if the ball's going in the hole, and that's something young players have a hard time with. But we're going to need it all tomorrow. Not perfection, but we're going to need a high-level performance because Purdue is good defensively and good offensively. They didn't win the Big Ten because they snuck up on people. So I think we're going to need a complete performance from everyone, and that was unique yesterday where, you know, Dre and Kyle, from an offensive standpoint, weren't as efficient as they have been all year, but our defense, it just kept us in there, and Kihei and Kyle made enough big plays, and Momedy and the other guys, and that's what you have to do. So that's.
Let's go to the back right corner and then to the right middle and then up here in front on the left side.
Tony, hi, Chip Scoggins from the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. When you told DeAndre that he's redshirting, was that a difficult conversation, and in what ways did that year benefit him?
Yeah, it was huge. Well, first, when I saw DeAndre in high school, there's some guys you just watch and you say, oh, they have a chance to touch greatness. They have there's something in them. And I saw him, you know, he was hurt for some of his high school career, and I saw him and I thought, boy, he could be a guy that could really, you know, keep taking this program to a good spot. He had a high ankle sprain right when we were getting ready to start playing. We'd practice, and so he was going to miss I don't know how long. And what I told him, and you could see the potential was there, but what I said is, if you redshirt, you can go to work on your body and your skills. And I can't guarantee you how much time is going to be there if you don't redshirt. It's always the player's decision. I always do that. I'm sure he was expecting to come in and play a lot, but I thought if he would use that year correctly, as he did, it could be huge. Malcolm Brogdon did that for us, Anthony Gill. I can go down the list of guys, Mike Scott, where it really served him well, whether it was because of an injury or a transfer or whatever. And I thought it was significant. And then even in his first year, he wasn't playing a whole lot consistently early on. And then but he stayed patient, and it was hard. That's hard for every player. That's the hardest thing as a coach, you know, and I understand that. I know that's hard when, you know, Braxton and Jay and Jack, you know, they didn't get to play much yesterday. They desperately want to play. But those who will stay patient and work, and as he did, you could just see it was coming. But it was just fine-tuning, and he still got room to grow, which is, I think, very exciting. But, yeah, it was more presented to him and say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you're willing to wait, I think it can be a positive. But if you don't want to, then we'll go after it the way you want. That was the conversation.
Okay, back row on the right side, then to the second row, and then we'll come here to the front row on the left.
Caroline Darney, SB Nation. Coach, do you allow yourself, any win's a good win, obviously, especially at this point in the season, do you allow yourself to revel a little bit in a defensive battle like you had last night? And how has the quick turns in the ACC provided the opportunity to prepare for the dramatic changes in style, whether it's a top 15 defense against Oregon, now a top 5 offense in Purdue?
Yeah. I think, when you maybe don't play your best offensively and you find ways to win, I think you do revel, or you're thankful for that, and you look at that, because it has to be that way. That's the game, you know. Certain things have to be constants. You know, offense can sometimes go in and out. We've been efficient most of the year offensively, but not yesterday, a large part due to the Oregon defense, and some of it was us, you know, not being as good as we've been. But we found enough ways, and the defense was there. So yes, that's important. And to advance to this point and do what these guys have done in the face of everything this year, for sure. And then the second part of the question was, the turnaround. Yeah, we had 3, Ty said it last night on the podium, 3 Saturday, Monday games. When I coached at Washington State, it was always it was a Thursday, Saturday league. Most of the time, it was always that one day in between. And I know it's the Pac-12 now. It was a Pac-10 when I was there, so I know people. But the ability to have those turnarounds and play different styles is important. And so it's how you prepare this day. It's unique how late we got done last night, and like you asked those guys when they got to bed, those are the challenges, but you rest. And I told the guys, I said, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I said, probably tired, didn't sleep great. I said, legs are probably a little fatigued. I said, you know what? Everybody's like that at this stage. It's worth it. So you just got to fight through that And again, turning it quick, having a good practice, good film, and understanding, again, what Purdue does. So I think there are some advantages of doing it. I'm sure Purdue did it in the Big Ten, but you have to rely on those experiences to sharpen you. And we talked about that when those games were there. I can remember after we played Duke and got beat, and I said to our guys before the game in the North Carolina locker room, I said, okay, I said, if you're fortunate enough to advance in the NCAA tournament, let's assume you had a good win against Duke, or you had a good win. Yeah, we didn't. I said, you're going to have to play a big-time opponent, a one-day's prep. You're going to have to go in a tough environment and do it. And I said, in a way, set your mind to that. And that's what we tried to do, Gardner-Webb to Oklahoma, in that kind of way. So I know I'm being long-winded, but it cuts down your questions. So that's why I'm doing it, so I can get out of here. My time's almost up, right? So I know what I'm doing. I've been here 10 years at Virginia, so no. But does that answer the – okay.
Right side.
Tony, obviously your father, I know, has been a huge influence on your life, but
Yeah.
as you get older, as we all do you hear his voice in your head and even maybe sometimes coming out of your mouth? Occasionally you're parroting things that he said, and if so, how grateful are you to just kind of channel all of that into what you're doing?
I was so fortunate. I did with Westwood One with Will Purdue. He asked me some questions. To be under my father when he had to do some major rebuilding of programs. When I played for him at Green Bay, and then I watched him rebuild, and I was with him at Wisconsin and then at Washington State. That's huge to watch that up close and personal, to see someone who's willing to be patient and not be distracted, and watch them go through it and what it takes to build and how they stay true to who they are and what they know will work with little adjustments. Invaluable. And then to know that, when he instructed me as a player, a coach, and even when he speaks to me, now over the years, it's changed a little bit. It comes from a place of love. And when you can trust that, he would always quote a proverb to me. He'd say, son, wounds from a friend are better than kisses from an enemy. So that meant I was going to either be told I'm doing a crappy job or something, but he'd speak the truth. He'd say, hey, you need to hear these things. And he always would say to me, learn from my mistakes as a coach. That stuff's invaluable. He said, I screwed up in this part, or I didn't spend enough time talking to the players. I got so tunnel vision. So when someone can speak to you like that, whenever I've had head coaches on my staff, Coach McKay, Coach Soberg, said, hey, look, this is where I maybe missed it, and I listen as closely as I can. So, but yes, I definitely, there's things, if I could be half the coach he is, I'd be thankful. And the reason why I got into this profession, I didn't think I was gonna, is I just wanted to be with him at the end of his career. I just was a volunteer manager, and I just wanted to, I knew he was getting close to retiring. I said, I'd played a little bit in the NBA. I just want to be by his side and enjoy that. I didn't know what I was going to do. Then bang, that first year, I'm a volunteer manager. He goes to the Final Four, and I'm like, well, that seems pretty easy and pretty fun. I think maybe I'll get into this coaching thing. And I didn't realize that, but how tough it was. But that, it was a joy playing for him, coaching with him. I told Coach Kruger's son, I said, don't ever take it for granted. It's one of the greatest blessings you'll ever have.
Yeah, two right here on the left side. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, Tony, yesterday Mamadi was saying how him and Coach Williford have grown really close this year, and Coach Williford has actually helped him a lot with his post moves. How has the relationship kind of evolved, and how important has Coach Williford been in Mamadi's development this year?
Well, Coach Williford, again, being the associate head coach, he's done a terrific job. His mind for the game, his ability to recruit, when he wants, he'll be a terrific head coach. He's that good. So, again, 10 years, continuity's been important. I've seen him grow. Coach Sanchez actually was close with Mamadi, as the whole staff was, but I've seen Coach works with our bigger guys, Jay does, and I've seen him, speak to Mamadi in the right way, and he's been huge. So and they have Mamadi is the question about him, he's a unique young man, and he has such joy on the court, off the court, and I've seen Jay challenge him, but also encourage him, and I think that's the balance that you have to have with young men today.
In terms of talking about not taking anything for granted, I mean, with the success that you've had here, have you thought about the significance, the personal significance of getting to the Final Four should you win tomorrow? And I guess the second question is there a player like Carson Edwards that he reminds you of, rather?
Oh, man, he's pretty unique. I mean, he's so aggressive. I mean, there's been so many great guards in the ACC, and he's up there with him, how he can score and do things. No one comes to mind particularly right now. But, yeah, The significance, I'd love it if it happened, but I decided, after last year, I told our guys, I said, what did that experience teach me? Going through what we did, losing and all those things. And I told the team this, and you guys have heard me say it before, it created a fire in me that wanted to become a better coach and pursue trying to get these guys to as far as they can, a Final Four, a national championship, and it's burning hot. But it did something I think maybe as significant or greater. It made me realize that if that never does happen, I'll still be okay because I've been blessed beyond what I deserve. And I think it's freed me up to go after this for as hard as I can, as hard as we can. And, you use the word, you hold it with open hands. I think you have to have that. And do these guys want this? Does Purdue want this? Do I want that? Would I love to be a son and a father who coached in a Final Four? Be great. But if it doesn't happen, you have to say, hey, are you going to be okay? And that's what I learned, and that's invaluable. So I'm at peace, but I'm very hungry.
Down to about 4 more questions. Final 4 if we can get them in, Coach. 3 here and 1 here, and then we'll get you out of here.
Seems like we've been up here a while.
This is your long session.
Obviously, there's a history with the Bennetts and Purdue. Do you have a favorite Dick Bennett, Gene Katie story?
I played for Coach Katie, the 1991 Pan American team. I was the point guard for that team with Jimmy Jackson, Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, Walt Williams. The list goes on and on. But I played for Coach Katie. I loved it. It was a phenomenal experience in Havana, Cuba. We won the bronze medal. Jimmy Jackson got hurt in the semifinals. I can go on and on about that. But such respect for Coach Katie, that program. I actually played against, when I was a senior in college, we played against, Matt was on the team at Purdue. When I was a senior at Green Bay, we played in their Christmas tournament. I remember 2 great coaches played in the Elite Eight in 2000. That was the year I was the volunteer manager. And the only way I got to be on the bench is I had to give the water bottles and put the stools down. That was my role, otherwise, because you only have so many. So, and actually, there's a picture floating around of me in that game doing that. Coach Soderberg was an assistant, and his sister Megan and I were the managers, so that was our job. So kind of ironic. But watching Coach Katie and my father, 2 coaches that, you say, I hope they get to coach in a Final Four because I know that's a dream of theirs. That was it was special for me as a son. That is my greatest memory, watching my father achieve that because I knew that was a dream of his. So seeing that battle, seeing those battles over the years, and just find men who are tough as nails, both of them. Those are old school blue collar guys that you certainly learn a lot from.
Front row, right side.
Hey, Tony, Jeff Borzello, ESPN. There was a moment last night toward the end of the game. I can remember if you had a 1-on-1 or 2 shots, and you were telling Mamadi to get on the line to offensive rebound,
yeah.
And Kyle sort of said, no, keep him back. So
I wanted him there for the first one in case they missed, and Kyle, and then the time was too late, and then if he made it, we were going to get him off for the second one.
Okay, I just do you feel like your guys are, or you empower or enable your guys enough to say, if they have a different read to the situation than you, once they know, obviously, the tenets of what you guys do, empower, enable them to maybe call an audible, basically, on what you're saying?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, depends. But London, I always ask London, Malcolm, those guys, Ty, in the game, you say, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? Because I remember as a player, sometimes you experience things and see things a little different than as a coach. I mean, I'm not too proud to say that. They can sometimes give advice, and they might have a suggestion. That's been a key this year. Isaiah was like that. I can go down the list. So for sure, it's not like they just do it all the time, but if there's something there, and that situation was just, it was kind of a broken situation. But absolutely, you seek their advice, you listen, we talk at halftime, and it is give and take. And then, you obviously have to make the decisions, but I'd say that's accurate.
Right in the back row.
Hey, Tony, just one more on Kihei. You mentioned earlier about him making some big plays last night. Have you found him more willing and eager to put himself in those moments from the time he was a freshman, finding his way to the point in the season now?
Yeah. Well, he's so competitive. He's a winner, and he's shown that. And I think he did that when he was I never saw him when he was in junior high, but in high school in the AAU circuit, he did it at times, or even early in the year. You go back to the tournament in the Atlantis, It just makes big plays, and yeah, we needed all those, and so probably getting more comfortable. He seems to seize the opportunity, but he's got something in him. He did it against Oklahoma too.
Okay, last question here in the front row. Sure.
Tony, just piggybacking on that, can you address Kihei's mental toughness and physical toughness? He just seems like he's full of that.
Unique. There's just something about, I was fortunate to watch Muggsy Bogues the 3 years I was his backup in Charlotte. And, you know, I remember, I think it was a video or a book, and the title was Don't Tell Me No. I think that was it. And I watched that heart and that perseverance. And, you know, that's something that you have to have. I think that's, as a player, I tried to identify with that. I understood that. But when you see it, you know it. And I think I know it. And I think others know it. When I watched him, and not a lot of people, well, he had verbally committed to UC Davis. Jimmy Les did an unbelievable job of getting him. And then when he decommitted, I called Coach Les, and I said, you know, first I wanted to make sure, is this legit, you know, what's going on? And we talked, and I said to him, am I seeing this right? And he said, yes, you are. He said, he's special. And so he's got it that way, and he's got to keep improving, as they all do, but in these settings, to have that kind of metal and that kind of stuff, that's a good sign.
Thank you, Coach. You ripped through those. Good job.
Trying to talk longer, so it was a longer press conference.
Scoot over.
What time does the next one start?
3:40. 3:40.
I think I have them all. Edwards, Klein, Arms.
Oh, that's Tennessee.
Eastern and Eifert.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
5:50 a.m. alarm hurt. 5:50. Get kids ready, going. To get kids up and moving. It's like, yeah, right. And a dog, of course. I think. Yeah. What's that? 40. Ladies and gentlemen, in about 4 minutes, the Boilermakers will be joining us in the interview room. It's your 4-minute warning. The Boilers are on their way. We'll have the starting five from last night's game and Coach Painter from 3:40 to 4. And then the student athletes will leave for the breakout sessions. And Coach Painter will be available until about 4:20 or so. Maybe now.
What's up, Chris? What's up, Farmer?
Okay, as the Boilermakers get settled here, just a reminder to raise your hand when you have questions, and we'll get a microphone to you on either side of the room. And this session does begin. We'll just go straight to questions from the floor. And we'll start with the student athletes first, and then, careful. And then we'll go to Coach after that. Okay, so we're going to start here in the back row. Two on the right, on my right side.
Greg Mengelt, CNHI, Sports Indiana. Ryan, last night you were being defended by All-American Grant Williams. I don't think we've ever seen you hunt your shot quite like that before. Can you take us through what your thought process was, and will you be hunting your shot any more than usual tomorrow after the way you played last night?
No, I don't think I'll be hunting my shot. You know, I mean, it's not any different than any other games, but you know, there were times where my teammates had trust in me, and they were even telling me after the game, you know, there was probably 10, 11 seconds left in the shot clock, and they just kind of spaced it out for me and let me go do it. So, you know, nothing's going to change in particular.
Okay, next question, down the right side.
Yeah, for Ryan, Kip Coons for Press Box View and South Boston News and Record, right here, right in front of you.
Oh, my bad.
I know you and Kyle Guy were AAU teammates. Can you take us through some of the rivalry and teammate situations you've had with him over the years, and how close you guys are as friends and competitors?
Yeah, I definitely don't think there's a rivalry. You know, we played together in AAU and played against each other in high school basketball. He's obviously an incredible player, an incredible shooter, and you know, it's going to be a lot of fun being able to go against an old buddy tomorrow.
Left side, Dana.
Dana O'Neill at The Athletic. Ryan, Kyle did say that he memorably crossed you up and made you fall in a high school game. What? Do you want to defend yourself on that one?
Did you say that? That's wild. Yeah, I'll text him about that. I don't remember that, but yeah, that's not cool of him to say. I don't know why he said that. I actually don't know that I've ever like fallen from a. The only time I fell was during like a summer basketball camp, and I actually like broke a bone in my foot, which is pretty embarrassing. But yeah, I don't think that ever happened. I'll definitely talk to him about that.
Okay. Front row, left side here. We'll go front row and then second row.
Gary Graves, Associated Press. I'll say for Carson, have you seen any kind of defense much like what Virginia throws at you, or will throw at you tomorrow night? I mean, anybody in the Big Ten that has anything close to that, and what makes it so effective?
Well, I mean, I feel like, first off, yeah, well, Virginia's a really good defensive team, obviously one of the better defensive teams in the country, but I mean, I guess just competing in the Big Ten with a lot of physical teams and things like that, I feel like obviously won't be just like it, but I mean, just with teams like Michigan State and things like that that contain the dribble well and keep you out the paint and make a lot of things tough, is somewhat similar to it, but for the most part, Virginia's, I feel like, is apart from a lot of teams defensively on how well they are, so it'll be something different for us.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press. Carson, TV was showing that you had matched Steph Curry with the 4 straight games, 25 points. Has your phone blown up at all since that? Have you been hearing from anybody about that? And you talked a little bit last night, but having a few hours to think about it, having your name kind of mentioned with his, what's that feel like?
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, my phone kind of blew up a little bit, but that's just because we won. Honestly, I feel like I just kind of look at it as because we won. We won a big game. That was a tough one for us, but honestly, I feel like I haven't really done enough yet to even consider my name being thrown around with Steph Curry. So, but just to kind of, I guess the stats was something that's similar to his, but for the most part, I don't really look at it like, my name's thrown around with Steph Curry. It's just cool little statistic that I was able to do in the last 4 games. So.
back row to our right.
Grady, you've played with Ryan for 4 years. He made his last 8 shots last night. Have you ever seen him have a performance like that in practice or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely in practice. You know, when he gets hot, the rim just gets bigger, and he's able to knock down a lot of shots. And last night, you know, he was able to do that. And definitely in practice, we've seen him, you know, isolate against guys and make those tough shots. So definitely seen it before.
Questions for the Purdue student athletes? Okay, right here in the middle row to the right.
For Matt, Virginia can go a number of different ways defending in the post. They can go with a 7-footer, a small mobile guy, or Jack Salt, who's literally a bruiser. What do you anticipate that you're going to see tomorrow, and how would you have to adjust depending on who's guarding you?
We just got to be ready for all 3 of those options they put there at the 5. Thankfully, we've seen a lot of different guys at the 5 throughout the year. You know, we've seen faster guys, we've seen really big guys, we've seen guys that can step out and shoot the 3. And Virginia, you know, happens to have kind of all 3 of those. So we just got to be ready for, you know, whoever gets the most minutes in that game, in our game. We're just going to have to be ready for it.
Okay. Left side, second row, far end.
This question's for any of you. What would it mean to you to be the first team since 1980, first Purdue team since 1980 that reached the Final Four if you do win tomorrow?
Carson, can you start with that one, please?
I think it'll be a really cool opportunity. Just being able to compete at this level and be able to get there. I mean, we still have a game ahead of us first, so I don't want to look too far into that, but just want to be able to put ourselves in the best position to win tomorrow, and that's what we're focused on now. But it would be a pretty cool experience, and with a group of guys that I enjoy playing with and enjoy being around off the court as well, so it'd be pretty cool.
I think the rest of us agree.
Yeah, just agree. And a lot of former players have been able to reach out to us and, you know, let us know they're supporting us and, you know, have all the faith in us. But what we've done is just take it one game at a time since we've been here, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
Question, front row, left side.
With all the attention that's been given, and I guess I'll correct this, Ryan, but all the attention that has been given to Michigan and Michigan State and the Big Ten, how have you all kind of carved your profile this year? I mean, you feel like you all have flown under the radar a little bit compared to them, but you feel like you've kind of established a presence in your own right, especially to get this far?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in a sense, we've, you know, I feel like people have kind of overshadowed us with Michigan and Michigan State, but, you know, just starting off 6-5, you know, a lot of people, I've said it all year, a lot of people have counted us out, and, you know, I feel like we're going out there and, you know, we're playing more free and we're playing more, you know, for each other. So a lot of people said that we didn't have a lot to lose, and I feel like we're just going out there and playing hard and competing for each other.
Anything else for the Boilermakers? Okay, gentlemen, thanks for your time today. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Tell Joey I said good job. He was great.
All right, Coach, so we have 2 questions here on the left side, and then we're going to go to the right aisle.
Katie travels about with you all the time for a lot of things like this. What's it like just kind of having him on this run especially, and how often do you kind of talk to him and just to hear his thoughts on this stuff?
Yeah, well, I talk to him a lot. You know, on the phone, obviously, he doesn't live in, you know, West Lafayette, but he'll come and kind of have like a, I don't know, like a 3 or 4 game package with us, where, and obviously at the end of the year, going to the Big Ten tournament, going to the NCAA tournament, like he normally tries to do that. But he still comes at the last couple of years. He definitely has done that, where he's come to a couple home games, couple road games together and traveled with us. So obviously he's a, you know, big part of our program. And I've always said that about myself, how I felt fortunate because we've had a blueprint on how to run a program. And, you know, anybody can have a good team and get a couple good players, but, you know, to have a good program and have consistency and do things the right way and graduate your guys and still be successful on the court, you know, that's what he established at Purdue, and that's what we're trying to continue and just keep working and getting better, you know, especially at what we do.
A few former coaches who went to the Final Four mentioned that they actually thought at this point the Elite Eight was the most pressure they felt because you're so close to achieving it. You're sitting here in this moment. I want to ask, do you concur, and then what do you kind of feel at this spot?
Well, I think, you know, I think pressure is something you feel when you're not prepared. You know, if you've ever been overwhelmed by something, you know, you go into Bloomington and, you know, and play Indiana and, you know, they make 8 straight threes. You know, after that, you feel like, whoa, this is going to be hard to get over. You know, getting into a buzzsaw last night when they go on that run, you know, I think that's something you feel as a coach, like, you know, how can I, you know, shorten this run? How can I diminish this run? How can I help my team? But like going into a game, you know how dangerous it is to play Virginia. And so that alone, I don't know how any other feelings can get past that feeling right there of, you know, how do we stop Ty Jerome and Hunter and Kyle Guy and the rest of their group? You know what I mean? So like that to me is like, man, that's enough of an obstacle. So to be able to feel some other feeling at that time, you know, to me it's just a basketball game. It's not that big a deal. It just isn't. You know, what's the big deal? Like, handle it. You've had 35 of them, you know, go out and play the game and have fun. And, you know, I don't understand how you can shoot 50% from 3 and shoot 50% from the free throw line. You know, I don't understand that. But somehow Tennessee and Purdue did that yesterday. And so, you know, I think I understand what they're saying in theory, but in reality, you know, just keep doing the same things that we've done to get to this point.
Over here. Ryan has talked a lot about his history with Kyle Guy. How similar are they as basketball players and as shooters?
They're pretty similar. You know, I watched Kyle a lot. I think I went and saw him play as a sophomore once. I saw him play 3 or 4 times in live games during the year as a junior. I saw Klein play 3 or 4 times as a junior. I didn't see him as a sophomore. So I've seen them a lot, you know, both of those guys, and they both can catch and shoot off the move really well. You know, Kyle's got a good pull-up game. He's quick in their system, very efficient in their system. But Kyle can hurt you in a lot of different ways. You know, you have to be there on the catch and make it difficult for him. And Klein's the same way. You know, Klein's very unique. You know, I've always said his jump shot. I've never seen somebody shoot the basketball in his fashion. You know, it looks like he's fly fishing to me. And so I've never once said one word to him about his shot because I don't know what the hell to say to him. You know, just, you know, keep shooting it, get in rhythm. But they both have something uncanny, is that they both can move and shoot and not be square when they start to release, but end up getting square while they turn their body kind of in mid-motion, if you understand what I'm saying. You know, so the way they both shoot sometimes might be bad shots for a lot of people, but they're not. They're good shots for those 2 guys.
Yeah, Matt, Kip Coons for Press Box View and South Boston News Record. When you were recruiting Ryan, was he not necessarily considered a high major recruit at the time? I was told he was probably headed to a small school like a Belmont or somewhere like that.
Yeah. No, we were his only high major offer. So we went through a couple years where, you know, we just didn't have enough skill. And to me, we just didn't have, you know, kind of just enough of that intestinal fortitude. You guys with a little bit of a fight to him. He came from the winningest program at that time, and they just ended up winning the state again in Carmel High School. And so he'd won 2 state titles. He was tough. They value possessions at his high school, which is really important when you come into major college, you know, basketball. But I thought he was a perfect fit for us.
Back row on the right, and then we'll go to the left side.
Coach, obviously Purdue and Virginia are 2 programs with a lot of championships, a lot of wins, but no Final Fours in 35 years. What are the similarities between the programs? I know there's overlapping.
Right.
You played against his father, and I think you played against him as well. So what are the similarities with the programs and you and him?
Yeah. Well, obviously, you know, we've won the most Big Ten championships in the Big Ten. And Sometimes in recruiting, people find that hard to believe, but we've been very consistent for a long time, but yet we haven't been able to kind of push through since 1980 to get to a Final Four, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what he's trying to do. Obviously, his dad was able to do that, at Wisconsin. But I just think a lot of the same staples that we have in our programs, the same values of trying to get guys that fit our system, trying to get guys that personally fit us. And then also they're both great academic institutions. Purdue's a great academic school, Virginia's a great academic school. So I think there's a lot of consistencies there. But, Tony was a great player. I was not. And so he actually came in as a player at Green Bay and beat us in our own tournament at Purdue when I played. And it seemed like he made every shot. I think he was like 7 for 16 in the game. But to us, it was pretty earth-shattering for a guy to come in there at 5'11", and just we absolutely couldn't stop him. I think our whole team tried to guard him. But he was a phenomenal player, really self-made guy that worked very hard. Obviously, he shot 50% from his career from 3, and then played in the NBA for 5 years. So, he was a phenomenal player and a phenomenal coach.
Second row, then to the back.
Teresa Walker, Associated Press. Last night you mentioned Carson's ability to focus and short memory and go on to the next shot. Does that maybe help at a stage like this where, especially with his name being drawn and mentioned with the likes of Curry, to focus on tomorrow night's game?
I think so. For him, he's excited about a challenge more than anything. I think he just looks forward to that next game, that next shot, and he really keeps things simple. So I think some of the questions you ask him, he's processing it and kind of thinking about his answer, because he doesn't get to that point. He just plays. And I think that helps, because he can get in some different situations, and he's always very confident. Whether he's making shots or he's not, he thinks he's going to make the next one. And I think that's a good quality to have, as long as you have the skills to do it, and he obviously does.
Matt Norland, CBS Sports. Right back to your 12 o'clock here, Matt.
Okay.
Only one other time in your career have you only returned one starter, and that was 2012-2013. You were sub 500 that season, but obviously you have done it here, and now you're on the doorstep of making a Final Four. As you prepared for this season, I didn't know if that previous one, if you knew of that stat, and if there were things you did differently. And the part B of this question is, you started off, 6-5 or something like that.
Right.
Carson wasn't the player that some were expecting him to be. Did you change anything in terms of practice disciplines or anything that kind of nudged this team along the right path?
You know what? Not really, because I really I stayed with the same lineup, like no Joe Eastern, Carson, Ryan, Grady Eifert. They stayed consistent. I took Matt out of the starting lineup and brought him off the bench, not because I felt like somebody was more productive than him. I just thought it would allow him to be more productive coming off the bench. He brought a lot of energy the time before. I did not know that stat, but obviously it makes sense that you said it. The one thing when you're 6-5 and those 5 losses are at Michigan, at Florida State, at Texas, Virginia Tech neutral, and Notre Dame neutral, it's still real problems. A lot of times people can get some losses, and or they can get a lot of wins. They can be 9-1, 10-1, and they think they're pretty good, when in reality, they have some major warts there that just haven't been exposed because they haven't played good enough competition. Ours got exposed, and but we had Virginia Tech up 14. The Texas game was a possession game. At Florida State, they were fouling us on purpose, under 30 seconds in the game. And so we were a lot closer, but yet we were a lot further. We had a bad game against Notre Dame, but they simply played better than we did. So from there, we just needed to get some confidence. We won 3 straight three straight home games, and 2 of those teams were NCAA games. And then we were able to win a road game in overtime against Wisconsin. And then from there, we just kind of built confidence. I think some of the things that helped us through the time, we played much harder. We played better defense. I don't think we're a great defensive team, but we found ways to win games differently. When Carson struggled shooting, we were still winning some road games. When we had other breakdowns, different guys would step up and win games for us. And I thought those were good signs from there. But no, we really just kind of stayed with our same group. For the most part, and just tried to keep getting better together. I didn't think it was our personnel. Sometimes we shoot the ball too quick, and we just got to be more patient.
Okay, we have 2 on the left side in the middle, and then we'll go to the front row here on the right.
Matt, obviously people define coaching success is making it to a Final Four. There's obviously a large list of coaches who have not made it to a Final Four. How do you kind of measure that bar?
Well, obviously, when you look at things, I think when somebody's at the end of their career, I think you're trying to look at things that way. When you're in the process and you're coaching, you're just trying to take each team that you have and mold them together to win the most games and to try to be good at this time of the year. And I think in this point we've been able to do that. But there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of great coaches that don't make the Final Four. But I think there's a lot of those coaches who haven't done that have really changed people's lives, with the time that they've put in. And I think that's the whole point. The whole point is nobody gets in to be a college coach to make money. They just don't. You get into college coaching because you like people and you like basketball. And, I know you can get fortunate and things can happen and you can get breaks like I have. But that's what you do. I think that's the true test of a coach is what your former players think of you, especially the ones that played, because sometimes guys don't like you when they don't play.
Matt, if you could speak specifically to the matchup with Ty Jerome, and I'm curious also, with a kid who's so willing to shoot the ball from well beyond the arc, does that have to factor into your defensive approach? Yeah,
no question. He's very good at triple threatening you and pulling from 25 feet, but he's also a guy that can dribble, and if he has space, he'll take that deep pull up also. But anytime a guy can pass like that and has that kind of size and then range, he's going to cause problems for you. You got to stick with him. He's going to make some plays, whether that's scoring the basketball or passing the ball. You just want to try to make it as hard as possible.
Doug Dowdy from the Roanoke Times in Virginia. Got a kind of geography or location question here. Virginia plays in this building most years, and obviously you had a nice turnout the other night, as did Tennessee. What did you think when you saw that the games would be played down here, and what kind of following do you expect tomorrow?
Well, I think we'll have a great following. I think we'll have more fans at this game than we did other night. I know our fans are excited, about this opportunity. We haven't put ourselves in this spot for a while, and so I think we'll definitely have more fans than we had other night, even though we had a good showing other night. And the fact that Virginia plays in this building, it's the first time I thought of that. It's just sometimes when you think, you don't think along the lines. You think along the lines how you grew up and who played who, and now everybody's, obviously the conferences are different. So, but no, I think it's going to come down to who's more efficient, who plays harder, who's tougher. A lot of the reasons why Virginia is so good is just their consistency, and they stick to their rules. And you have to be if you're going to be able to beat them, you're going to have more discipline than them. You're going to have to be tougher than them, and then that's a tough challenge.
Matt, have you played anyone this season that runs this system? Obviously not probably as well as Virginia runs it, but do you have any frame of reference with pack line this year?
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of people that run pack line. I think it's very, similar to where, you go against somebody who runs the Princeton offense, but they don't run it like Princeton. They don't run it like Pete Carrill. And if somebody does run it like Pete Carrill, they're probably his assistant. But you can mimic it, and get it there. Well, these guys, his dad was pack line. That was just it. And so, you have to be able to move the basketball. You have to be able to be efficient, and then you got to be able to make the right decisions. If you're just not going to get the ball in the lane, I don't know who you're going to beat in the country if you can't get the ball to the paint in some capacity. Whether that's a drive, that's a cut, that's a post up, that's an offensive rebound, whether you're getting in transition. So it's important to be able to keep the ball out of the paint, and it's important to be able to get the ball to the paint in this game, and they do a great job of both.
Any more questions for Coach? Okay. Coach, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow. Good luck. Also have this reminder for media, the media reception today, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience here on Main Street. 5 to 7. Enjoy.